Hey, what's going on, pretty babies? All right, nice and connecting. Looks like we are, yes, we are good to go. All right, what's good, y'all? All right, 411 Mania columnist, reporter Lee Sanders here. You're checking out the RCWR show for Tuesday of January 25th, 2022. And at this point, we're pretty much bleeding right into Wednesday mornings. So appreciate those of you that maybe are going to be making your rounds about now that I'm going to be live for this next little bit. Definitely appreciate those of you that's going to be checking this out for on demand and on the downloads, as it is my duty to get this out in audio format for on demand and downloads ASAP. So I wish I could have came on much earlier, but when you have a new puppy, and at this point, Chloe is now 10 weeks old, give or take. I've got to double check with the missus, but she is still a handful. Let me tell you, right down to the point, I actually was supposed to be live already way before, at the time we're live right now, because I know there's going to be many that's going to be checking this out for on demand and everything, but at the time that we're live right now, it's 12:20 a.m. on the East Coast. And initially we were supposed to be ready to go. I was literally in front of the computer, everything was ready to go, and I was just ready to hit that live button as of 11:30. Next thing I know, I get this weird vibe, because I have Chloe in the room next to me. I actually have her on the sofa, got her playing with a toy or whatever, and something just said, look over. I don't know why, but something just said, look over. Next thing I know, I look over, and I'm noticing she's chomping down on something. I'm going, what the hell is going on? What is she smacking on over there? I look, and it turns out she was snacking on her own, you know what? Her own poop. I don't know why puppies have a tendency to do that. I don't know if that's their way of just trying to clean up behind themselves. It's greatly appreciated, but yo, it seriously is not needed. It seriously is not needed. So yeah, I pretty much immediately grabbed her, went to the bathroom, and was trying to brush her teeth, and thinking that was just going to be as simple as that. Just brush her teeth and pretty much we'll be rocking and rolling. Next thing I know, I find out that in the process of her chomping down, she somehow managed to get her paws in the mess as well. So she actually ended up getting a bath right there on the spot. And then we followed up with brushing her teeth. She seems to be nice and good now, but those are the tales of what's going on in a dog's life. Those are the tales of what's going on in the Sanders household. So apologies for you guys that were looking for this much earlier. And I'm just in a binge watching mode right now as far as the wrestling goes. I caught up on a good sizable chunk of what all I've missed from the recent NWA show. So we'll definitely be talking about that for a hot little bit. And I'll give you guys some quick programming notes, especially for you WOW Women of Wrestling fans. I'll definitely give you guys some mad love in regards to that show. So make sure you stick around for that. So we're going to kind of go with the most recent episode, because this week we had got NWA PowerrrSurge, but I know we didn't do anything last week because I was out sick, and we didn't talk about NWA USA. We also didn't get a chance to talk about last week's NWA Power. So I'll just, for the most part, I'm going to focus mainly on the talk of tonight's new episode of NWA Power, which was a PowerrrSurge. And then I'll just give you just overall blanket thoughts on what I had thought about the stuff from this past week and everything. Hope your week is good. Hope it's been all right so far. So NWA PowerrrSurge this week, I got to give mad props to Billy Corgan and crew, because this episode, I found it to be pretty funny, and I found it to be entertaining. And when you have funny and entertaining for a wrestling show, that's great stuff right there. Those are great ingredients. I mean, let's be honest. We've seen many instances where, you know, if we're checking out a wrestling show and they're trying to do some type of comedy, it's pretty much throwing a dart and just hoping it sticks to the freaking wall. Very rare where you get bullseye. Okay, we can all quietly think of a couple of examples to ourselves. But I thought what they did this week with PowerrrSurge was a fresh take. It actually made the episode exciting to check out, because when I was initially on Fight TV and I was previewing what was going to be coming up for this week's PowerrrSurge, I was going, okay, well, besides showing the Hard Times 2 match in its entirety between Red Titus, Austin Aries, which we talked about. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure we did a post show covering Hard Times 2, or at least talking about it the very next week and everything. I know for a fact we did talk about it, though, the pay-per-view in its entirety. So I thought that was a nice bonus treat that they gave for fans that maybe did not check out Hard Times 2, missed the return of Austin Aries in action and everything. I thought that was pretty badass what they did, given that nod to that match in its entirety. But for me, it was, okay, well, besides that, what else do we have going on here? What else can we sink our teeth into on this episode? And we got Jay Bradley and the Wrecking Ball, as these two guys were cutting it up for the entire episode of PowerrrSurge this week. Loved it. I freaking loved it. And let me tell you something. I have off and on over the years been following the career of Jay Bradley. And Jay Bradley has done a phenomenal job, I personally feel, in really coming into his own as a character, especially on the standpoint of being entertaining. He has really been just chipping away at it all these years, and it was just really refreshing to see a lot of his personality come through. Because if there was one, there were several shining bright spots for this episode of PowerrrSurge, but the one that stands out to me the most, I personally feel, and I'm sure that those that are Jay Bradley fans and or NWA fans will agree with me as well, just seeing the great chemistry between he and Wrecking Ball on full display on this episode, and Jay really taking the helm and being the lead dog here. Just very charismatic, very funny, very entertaining, just freaking great shit. I fucking loved it. It was great fucking shit. I'm thinking about the story that they had mentioned too, when they talked about how they came across some homeless guy who pretty much was asking for a couple of dollars. I guess he was trying to get something to eat or whatever. And Jay Bradley talks about how he's looking at Wrecking Ball and Wrecking Ball is looking at him, and no words needed to be spoken because it was at that moment that they both knew exactly what each other was thinking. And their response to the homeless guy was, hell no, you can't have any money. Go get a job, you bum. It's just, like, go ahead, man. Like, how you gonna be so cruel like that? Why you gotta be so cold? But no, their chemistry was pretty damn good, back and forth with each other. I love this. I remember complimenting the Fixers, as they're dubbed. I remember complimenting these guys several weeks back and saying we need to get more of these guys on NWA TV. You know, there's something kind of cool there with those guys. So it was nice to see them on full display here, where honestly, besides the Dirty Sexy Boys, Dirty Dango, JTG, besides those guys, when you're just looking at the tag team division, honestly, besides Dirty Sexy Boys, I mean, of course, you got to give it up to La Rebellion. I mean, current NWA tag champions, they're continuing to tear it up and everything. But I'm just thinking about how overall the NWA tag team division is really starting to take shape and everything. And a great team right here with the Fixers. They could definitely go a pretty long way. Let's not also forget we got Kratos and Aaron Stevens. Looks like he's starting to find his Damian Sandow persona and everything. So, I mean, just are looking at what's happening with the NWA tag team overall, and it's really starting to shape up pretty damn good here, man. But I'm loving the Fixers here. They're definitely one of the standout teams in the NWA. And this episode, without a shadow of doubt, it was theirs. Of course, in regards to the action for this week's NWA PowerrrSurge, we got a, again, I can't stress it enough. If you did not order Hard Times 2, you definitely want to make it be your business to check out this match, which they showed in its entirety. NWA Junior Heavyweight Championship qualifying match, Austin Aries taking on Rhett Titus. You definitely want to check that out. Rodney Mack was in action this week. I just had to do a double take when I saw that my man Rodney Mack was in action, because I remember not last week, because we didn't do any NWA stuff last week, so it would have been the week before. I remember saying something along the lines of, by any chance, is there any way we can have the return of the Rodney Mack White Boy Challenge? Because that would be pretty fucking badass. How about a White Boy Challenge in 2022? Those of you that don't know anything about the freaking Rodney Mack White Boy Challenge, you need to do your research. You got to just do your research. Try to look it up online. Teddy Long, just at the centerpiece of it all, setting that stuff up, was just, I loved it. Pure freaking entertainment for back in the day. But Rodney Mack was in action. I'm trying to think who his opponent was. I'm trying to think of the name. And sadly, Devin Graves, that's who it was. It was Devin Graves that he took on. Nice little match, about 4 minutes change, give or take. Rodney Mack picking up the victory over Devin Graves. I mean, this was just pretty much, honestly, Rodney Mack, all day offense, nothing but freaking offense. I love this. I love this. Devin Graves, I tell you what, I'll give you this, because we didn't get that much offense from Devin. I mean, he pretty much was taking an ass whooping in this match. But for the little bit of offense that he was able to get in there for what it was worth, I thought he was okay. Honestly, I thought he was pretty good. He seems to be pretty agile for a big man himself. So that's a guy I want to see a little bit more. Hopefully, we'll see more of him in action down the pipeline on NWA programming. But color me curious. There's definitely a big part of me that wants to explore a little bit more of this Devin Graves character. But Rodney Mack in action. Physically, the guy looks fucking awesome. Sure, he's lost the bulk that we remember from back in the day. That is for those of us that haven't been keeping tabs on Rodney Mack in recent years and everything. But I mean, he literally, when you look at him, you know, if it's been a while, you haven't looked at him, you know, you haven't looked him up in a while, you haven't been keeping tabs what promotion he's been working for, if any. This guy just physically, what a great specimen of a man. He is a specimen of an athlete, you know, all these years. I mean, been at it 20 something plus years, and you just look at how well he's been able to maintain himself over the years. That is a true testament. He is the true embodiment of perfection, you know, honing your craft, taking what you do seriously, being on top of your game when it comes to fitness, health, nutrition, and all that. Looking like a freaking beast. This was a nice, pleasant surprise seeing Rodney Mack in action, because I thought for sure after dropping the hell out of Jax Dane, I thought for sure we were going to see a scenario come about where Jax Dane, okay, you put your hands on me, we're not done, not by a long shot. We're just getting started here. You're going to learn real quick. You don't put your hands on the former NWA World Heavyweight Champion, the former NWA. All right, you know how he likes to do it when he's out there talking with Cal Davis and all that, which made this episode of PowerrrSurge even more head-scratching. And here's what I mean by that. Here's what was really head scratching about this episode. Now, I don't believe, I'm just trying to make sure I'm not mixing, I'm not mixing my episodes up, because I'm thinking about, give me a second to process. Yeah, I was about to say something that actually I got it mixed up with last week's NWA Power. I'll go ahead and finish the train of thought, because it'll make a lot of sense what I'm getting ready to put out there to you guys that's been keeping tabs of the NWA programming. So, I thought it was kind of weird the direction that we were going right here, where Rodney Mack just randomly is in a match here. After last we saw of him, he got physical there with Jax Dane, because Jax Dane was out there putting all the legends down, essentially putting down Jazz, Rodney Mack's wife, which had led to Rodney Mack coming out there and pretty much having some words with Jax Dane, pretty much, for lack of a better term, putting him in his place, bitching that boy out. Okay, let's be honest, he bitched him out real quick. So you would have thought that would have continued on the next batch of episodes of NWA programming. And instead, I just want to make sure I'm piecing this together right. So Anthony Mayweather, from an episode of Powerrr from last week, he's having an interview with Cal Davis, and all of a sudden he gets served with some papers, basically from an attorney, if you will, somebody representing Jax Dane, and it's basically a restraining order. Anthony Mayweather cannot be within the same vicinity as Jax Dane for about at least a mile. There's got to be a respected mile distance. Furthermore, he can't say anything that's derogatory, defamating, and all this other shit, or else he risks being slapped with a lawsuit and everything. Just this whole bunch of hubba-bub stuff. And I'm liking it. Don't get me wrong. I'm liking it, but I just couldn't help but scratch my head at that and say to myself, don't you think that would have made a little bit more sense possibly for Rodney Mack, since it was actually Rodney Mack that really had got physical there with Jax Dane, as opposed to Anthony Mayweather? Or why not knock out two birds with one stone and have both of those guys be served with restraining orders of some type? So I just thought that was a little bit weird what was going on there, but I'm going to just kind of lean back and just continue to watch how this is going to play itself out, because I have a feeling that NWA, Billy and then Billy Corgan and them, that they're going to, just give the fans, we'll be patient, and I feel that patience is going to be rewarded. That's the bottom line that I'm feeling, right? You kind of are looking at it right now, and you're going, I don't really know, but let's see what happens. Because usually they do a pretty good job in having everything come full circle and everything. I'll tell you this much. I know we're kind of jumping a little bit all over the place. That's okay. I'll tell you this much. I enjoyed that Mayweather had got the spotlight on this past week's NWA USA, as Nick Aldis had called him out and basically told him straight up. And remember when we had last talked about NWA USA, remember how I told you guys it was just so freaking random that we had Marche Rocket pick up a win over Anthony Mayweather? And I told you guys, I just found that to be kind of baffling, but usually everything is happening for a respected reason. We've said that time and time again. Yeah, but you just couldn't help but look at this and say, well, how does this really make sense? Well, we got the answer to that question, because from the last NWA USA, when Nick Aldis called out Mayweather, he told him straight up, look, I'm your friend. We've known each other for over 10 years. Our families eat together, spend time together. We've been through a lot, but, I appreciate everything that you've done for our country and everything, but I'm going to give it to you right between the eyes. ABC, always be closing. That's the name of the game when you're here in the NWA. And it's all about the strongest. It's all about the very best. And you keep delivering what you've been delivering recently, you're going to find yourself at the receiving end of an exit, basically. I'm paraphrasing. That's pretty much what Nick Aldis laid out to our boy Anthony Mayweather. He did not like the fact that Mayweather got his ass beat by Marche Rocket on what was it, on the last episode. So that would have been episode 2 of NWA USA, because 3 they put out this past weekend. So episode 2 that we're talking about. So you get that nice, good, strong pep talk game that's coming from the former NWA champion and all this, to Mayweather. So you're looking at that and you just can't help but say to yourself, okay, all right, that's nice. That's a nice little nod. But can Mayweather really take heed of the advice that he got there from his friend, who's also a higher up executive in NWA management? Can he really take that great advice that he got from him at face value, run with it, and make sure from here on out he really starts thinking with his head and really does his very best to continue stringing together those victories and everything in his career? It seems right now he's got a huge task at hand here, because on top of trying to continue to chip away at his career in the NWA, he's got this elephant in the room in the form of Jax Dane. I'm liking what has been continuing to develop between he and Jax Dane, by the way. I think ultimately the way this will pretty much pan itself out, I wouldn't be surprised if you were to do some type of loser leaves NWA type of match between these two, or if you did a steel cage, animosity, hatred, a feud this big, there's only one way to solve it, steel cage. I wouldn't be surprised if you ended up doing one of those two scenarios with Anthony Mayweather. But I'm liking this story arc that he's involved in right now. But I'm a little bit curious to see where we're continuing to go here, particularly with Rodney Mack, because I still feel him and Jax Dane, they're not done just yet. Jax Dane is going to get his comeuppance. He's got a receipt to cash there on Rodney. So how that's going to pan itself out, that kind of remains to be seen. But, Billy Corgan, NWA, what's up with the 2022 White Boy Challenge for Rodney Mack? Let's do it, man. Why not? Let's do it. Nostalgia kicks ass. Ain't nothing wrong with a little nostalgia. Other than that, some other action that we got from this week's NWA PowerrrSurge. Let me see. Kylie Ray was in action against Maddie. I got to tell you, this was a excellent women's match. I definitely got to tip my hat off to both women in this. Maddie, I'm really feeling her. She is giving me if I were to describe her as far as her in-ring presence and her in-ring work, so to speak, if I were to describe her, a great combination that I would use on her, I would say a combination of Deonna Purrazzo, and I'm sure she'll probably take that as a compliment, because I do mean that in a very complimentary way. She gives me a Deonna Purrazzo meets I'm trying to think who would be a really another good complimentary piece. I would say maybe a little bit of, oh man, so many women come to mind. I'm just trying to fine tune the right one that fits, but let's just go with Deonna Purrazzo for now. Another name will come to me and actually, you know what? Now that I'm really stopping and I'm thinking about it, I would actually say a little bit of Velvet Sky. back in the heyday when Velvet Sky was just a mean ass, you know what, running around there with the beautiful people. She's kind of giving me that little bit of a vibe, attitude wise. I'm speaking about. There's some nice little, but the strongest one that stands out to me is the Diana one, the Purrazzo one. That stands out to me. I'm still a relatively newcomer to her. I know she has done some stuff for AEW Dark Elevation. She also was involved with AEW's Women's World Championship Eliminator tournament. Try saying that 10 times fast. From Japan and the United States. I know she was doing some stuff with that. But it's weird because, you know, some of these women, so I'm constantly trying to remind myself, okay, why does this person look familiar? Why do they look familiar? And it's, oh yeah, she's only been at it for about 2 years. I don't know if I had mentioned that the last time that we were on the air, but she hasn't been wrestling that long, but she is off to a pretty damn good start. I gotta say, she's off to a pretty damn good start. She received her training from the Hybrid School of Wrestling, for those of you that like your trivia stuff. So yeah, she made her AEW debut going back to 2020. It was on an episode of AEW Dark. She had a match against Layla Hirsch. So a little more trivia for you guys that love your trivia. So as far as promotions outside of NWA, other promotions that maybe you might have seen her at, she did some stuff for Mission Pro Wrestling. She actually had a match against Jazz, believe it or not. So kind of interesting there. She also worked in the Reality of Wrestling's promotion for their Ladies Night Out 8 event. She did some stuff with the Hurricane Pro Wrestling Federation, World Class Revolution, Mission Pro Wrestling. So she's and the opponents that she's been facing, I mean, pretty reputable. I mean, Jasmine Allure, La Rosa Negra, Erica Torres, and we just mentioned Jazz earlier. Went up against Red Velvet. So there's some pretty good names of girls that she's faced so far. She's coming along. I mean, just think about that. She began in 2019. And when I look at this match particularly between her and Kylie Ray, I mean, my girl Maddie was wrestling like it was nothing. She wrestled in this like it was a breeze. She wrestled in this match as though she has been wrestling for 5, 8, 10 years. That's how smooth she was against Kylie Ray. Now, be it, it's a short match. According to my notes here, I had this match just shy of being 7 minutes. But man, Maddie, fucking pro. She fucking handled herself pretty good. And as I always like to say, you're only as good as your dance partner. And Kylie Ray, definitely a very good dance partner for Maddie. I like how physical, because this was a very intense physical match. I mean, I remember at one point, Maddie had Kylie Ray in between the ropes, and she pretty much was clubbing the hell out of Kylie Ray's chest, like Sheamus does when he does his trademark, punches to the chest and all that. He just be beating that person out in between the ropes. Maddie was going at Kylie Ray like that. I mean, it was getting that freaking physical. Kylie Ray picking up the W with a crossface for a submission victory. Good stuff right there. Main event match for PowerrrSurge this week. Fixers themselves, Jay Bradley and Wrecking Ball, they were in action against the Jake and Miguel Robles. Short little tag team match for what it was worth. It was about 3 minutes and some change. Wrecking Ball had pretty much used the cannonball to get a pinfall victory. That pretty much was it for that, and that pretty much had sealed it. It was okay. It was an alright tag match for what it was worth. You know, can't really crap on it too much, but you know, it was pretty decent for what it was worth. But for me, the real meat and potatoes of PowerrrSurge for this week, I got to give it up to the Kylie Rae Maddie match for what it was worth. That was fucking fantastic. And the Fixers just coming in between the segments, just telling some fun little jokes, little stories and everything. I love how Jay Bradley came in on the segment before the main event match and was explaining how 4K definition works and everything. That was just, I just couldn't help but just nod my head, just okay. And I'm going, Jay, you know, I actually said this out loud, and my wife is like, you know, he can't hear you, right? I'm like, I know. I was like, I'm just saying. So I was like that lost in the moment, but I couldn't help but say out loud, Jay, you know, this is going to go in one ear and out the other, right? Like, I just know 4K is nice. Right? You can freaking bust out a chalkboard and you can have your ruler and you can go through all the mathematical equations and geometrics and all of that, explaining to me how 4K technology works. All I know is pretty more clearer, right? I'm like Wrecking Ball. Yeah, I do see all the hair. I see every single piece of hair that's on your chest. I'm kind of like that with the 4K. That's how I am. But solid episode of NWA PowerrrSurge for what it was worth. Now, we did get some interesting news from the last Power episode, which I would assume we're gonna see next week. Next week they should be back with a new Power episode, but Mike Knox and Trevor Murdoch, they're gonna be going at it for the 10 pounds of gold. It's gonna be a rematch there, and the way that pretty much had got set up, you would have had to refer to the last Power episode. Basically, Trevor Murdoch, he wants Matt Cardona one-on-one. And Matt Cardona, you know, as much as he would like to oblige, he also recognizes that there's still some unfinished business between Murdoch and Mike Knox, because as far as Cardona is concerned, there's a little bit of controversy going on with the way their last encounter ended. Murdoch still being champion and all that. So Murdoch obliged. He's putting the 10 pounds of gold online, pretty much saying, yo, if that's what it takes to ultimately have a match against Matt Cardona, then so be it. So in the very next episode that's coming up of NWA Power, we're going to see for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, Trevor Murdoch defending against Mike Knox. Trevor Murdoch, Mike Knox, the finale, I'm assuming, the finale, as all roads seem to indicate. Ultimately, we're going to get Cardona and Murdoch one-on-one. So looking forward to seeing that for next week's NWA Power. We also got word that there's going to be this new tournament that's going to be happening in the coming weeks. Let me actually refer to my notes for this one. I want to make sure that I'm understanding this right as far as this match that's going to be forthcoming. I was getting ready to say War Games. No, it's not War Games. That's getting ready to come up, but it's an interesting format that they've got set up here, because whoever the winning team is, they're going to win a purse of $30,000. Yeah, they're going to win a purse of $30,000. So it's called Team War. And basically you're going to have these teams that ultimately it's going to be an elimination match, and you'll be able to win these matches by pinfall or submission or throwing your opponent over the top rope. And it's going to consist of teams of 3, if I'm not mistaken. There's going to be basically, I think they said a fatal 4-way, the way they're going to play this out. I know they're still ironing out the kinks on this one. I'm curious how far along they've gotten as far as what's been taped. I mean, for all we know, this might have already been taped or they're getting ready to tape this, but I'm loving the idea. I need to hear a little bit more information about this, but I love the fact that the grand prize, $30,000. What would you do with $30,000? Me personally, with $30,000, one thing I definitely would do, God, I would start by paying for the rest of my classes that I need to take to get my remaining credits. And then go get my car already. And from there, God, I probably would maybe use the rest as a down payment for a new home. That's for starters. And whatever was left over, I probably would maybe take a small amount of it and invest in cryptocurrency. You know, once I have maybe a portfolio manager, you know, really break down the pros and cons of cryptocurrency, you know, help me and make the right choices in investing in cryptocurrency, maybe invest in a little stock, and then leave the rest alone, sitting in a little account somewhere. What would you guys do if you won $30,000? Just bam, $30,000 is right there. What would you do with $30,000? Let me know. Most curious. So that was that. Nice concept though. Nice concept. Some other NWA stuff that we can get into here. Let me look here. I was talking about Kylie Ray earlier. Yo, mad props to the match that was put on for last week's Power. The Kylie Ray taking on Allison Kay. If you guys did not see that, and look, all this stuff that I'm talking about right now, there is no excuse for you guys anymore. I know that for the longest time when NWA had pretty much moved to Fight TV and they pretty much were behind a paywall, that pretty much alienated a lot of you guys out there. But now there's no excuse. You can go on NWA's YouTube channel and you can catch up on episodes of NWA Power. You don't need to worry about no YouTube Premium, YouTube Red. Fridays, they put out the episodes of NWA Power, but those of us that's under the Fight TV subscription, we get to see the first run initially when it drops on Tuesday. So you guys, when you get it Fridays, you know, if you don't care about, oh, it's, you know, I'm getting it 3 days later, you don't care about that, knock yourself out. And then, of course, Saturdays on YouTube, you get new episodes of NWA USA. USA, let me talk about USA in a hot minute. But yeah, look up of Power from last week. I got to give high marks there to that Kylie Ray Allison Kay match. By the way, I love me some Allison Kay. I have had a crush on Allison Kay for some years now, man. I love her. Big, tall, fine, thick ass woman. Love me some Kylie Ray. I'm sorry, Allison Kay. Kylie Ray's cute too. She's a cute little button too. I like that we have furthered the development going on there with Kiera Hogan and her ultimate match there with Camille for the Burke. Because I almost forgot that Kiera Hogan did win that qualifying match. I believe it was a fatal four-way or something along those lines a couple of weeks ago. And she won the right to be the new #1 contender to face Camille for the championship. So it was very interesting seeing Mae Valentine interview Kiera Hogan on one side, Camille on the other. You know, Camille talked about how, you know, she was obsessed with a lot of the stuff that was coming from Mickie James because that's her idol, that's her mentor and all that. But now she's obsessed with Camille because she wants the Burke, and Camille just kind of making very light of Camille's, or rather Kiera Hogan's obsession there. But I like that little line she delivered at the end saying, you know, you call yourself the Flame, right? Well, you know, every single flame can be put out, and that's period. I like how she was very coy, you know, because Kiera Hogan likes to come out with that whole period stuff. I think that's going to be a phenomenal matchup between Kiera Hogan and Camille. I'm actually looking forward to to see in that matchup. Meanwhile, I know Maddie had a match against Melina. That actually was a pretty, I was just giving Maddie high marks earlier. If her match against Melina did not convince you, add on top of what I just said earlier, and you saw the match with Melina, if it doesn't convince you that, yeah, Lee, you're actually making some very valid points about Maddie, then I don't know what to tell you. But I also got to give high marks there for Maddie and Melina. That was a nice episode of Powerrr that they put out, because it was actually really nice to see the women get a decent amount of love on this episode. Especially when all my favorites were involved. We even saw a cameo there from Genocide, Paola Blaze, Taryn Terrell. Taryn Terrell was trying to be the peacemaker there, as she was trying to squash the fires that was going on between Genocide, Paola Blaze, and it seems that for the time being, Genocide is going to continue to put up with that bullshit. You just can't help but wonder if that's a good idea, if that's going to eventually backfire. Have to wait and see how that plays out. Interesting challenge was put out to our boys, the Dirty Sexy Boys. Again, we're talking about from last week's Powerrr. I like the tag match that came about with the Dirty Sexy Boys taking on Ill Begotten. Captain Yuma left in the freaking dark, though, as it turns out, what was the guy's name? Rush Freeman, and I can't think of the other guy's name. They had other plans. They decided to hire the Fixers. So they made the Fixers honorary members of Ill Begotten for that particular match, because Dirty Sexy Boys decided, nah, you know what, 2 against 2, well, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Why not 3 against 2? Well, be careful what you wish for, because, yeah, Dirty Sexy Boys bit off a lot more than they can chew. Coming off a little bit way too cocky right here. They got their asses handed to them by Ill Begotten. So that was pretty much. I gotta say, by the way, I'm still just chuckling thinking about this, but the hand sanitizer spot with Dirty Dango, I mean, to just see practically an entire bottle of hand sanitizer almost emptied out in the hands of Captain Yuma. You got to go back and check that out. That was just fucking hilarious stuff right there. Just fucking hilarious. Other than that, I'm just quickly looking in my notes here, seeing if there was anything else kind of noteworthy to bring up to you guys from Powerrr. No, nothing else, because some of the stuff we already talked about. So that's why I'm kind of just, if you notice, we're just we're just moving along here. NWA USA, I'm still working on the updated brackets that I'll be showing to you guys, along with how I'm predicting it and everything. I've actually got to go back and check out the initial bracket that I put out. I believe I'm still flawless with my bracket. I believe I'm still flawless. I just got to go back and double check the initial episode. But Ricky Morton was in action against Jamie Stanley for NWA USA from this past weekend. He picked up the victory, did Ricky Morton to advance further in the Junior Heavyweight Championship tournament. Pretty nice one-on-one matchup there. Pretty nice one-on-one matchup. Ricky, or Kerry Morton, I should say. Kerry Morton. I said Ricky. I humbly apologize. Kerry Morton defeated Jamie Stanley. I made a point to my wife earlier, because she actually was watching NWA USA with me. I said, don't they look like one another? And she goes, who? Like, you don't see the resemblance? And I had to pause the TV so she could really look. And she was like, oh, you're talking about Ricky there. Like, yeah. Oh, that's his son. I was like, yeah, that's his son. And she was quiet for a couple of seconds. She's like, yeah, I see the resemblance. Like, yeah, big time. Kenzie Page. Oh, actually, let me back up. I like this new development that's going on here with May Valentine and Natalia Markova. Is anybody else getting the impression that maybe ultimately we're going to be seeing May Valentine in some type of a match or maybe a fight against Natalia Markova? Seems to indicate maybe that's the ultimate direction we're going to be going in, because think about it. What was it? NWA USA, the second episode, we actually saw May Valentine trying to conduct an interview with Natalia Markova, and she was asking Markova why she was being, nasty and hostile to some of the NWA staff members behind the scenes and everything. And we saw Markova get physical with May. Was pulling her by the back of the head, and was pretty much telling her she could do whatever when she wants, whenever she wants, and pretty much ain't a damn thing that May Valentine can do about it and everything. So I thought it was interesting going into this week's NWA USA, where May Valentine was talking with Camille, and she was trying to get Camille to do her a solid as a friend and pretty much have some words with Markova. And Camille pretty much said, in a nice little way. And I thought that was a really telling tale too, because on the one hand, you had Camille say, look, I've already got my hands tied up as it is. I've got Kiera Hogan down the pipeline for the Burke, and that really is of no concern to me right now. So I like how Camille pretty much tried to stay face, but would not inject herself in this crusade, if you will, that May Valentine is trying to orchestrate. And yet at the same time, it's one of those, you really know who your friends are when shit hits the fan. That old saying, right? There's going to come a time. Don't know when, don't know where, don't know the logistics as far as how or why, but there will be a time where I'm going to come to you and I'm going to need some help. And it's kind of one of those, you don't help me out when I ask for that help. It's kind of one of those, well, you ain't really a friend, are you? So I can't help but wonder now, okay, so is this the moment here particularly where May Valentine has a moment of clarity and realizes, yeah, you and Camille were never friends? I mean, the signs are fucking evident, man. I still remember that one episode. I think it was PowerrrSurge. I still remember that one episode where May Valentine was talking about how she knew she was going to be getting an invitation to Camille and Latimer's wedding. And they pretty much were, oh, yeah, for sure. And they kind of just rolled their eyes, not in her direction, but they kind of rolled their eyes when they were looking away. You're kind of going, interesting. So I don't know, but it just seems to me that this stuff that's going on between Markova and May Valentine, it kind of seems as though the seeds that's being planted so far, maybe ultimately we're going to be seeing them in some type of a one-on-one matchup. To the point, a new development that came about here, Kenzie Page was fighting Markova. This sadly had ended in a DQ because Kenzie Page was just going off on Markova like Ralphie in A Christmas Story when he's finally got his hands on that bully, and he just, God and fucking, you're no good, that's dirty son of a bitch, right? That infamous scene, and yeah, poor Kenzie Page. Kenzie Page was just, she was just going off on freaking Markova. DQ, so Markova wins. Tim Storm popped up, tried to get control of the situation. What about me? What about Raven? Came to the scene. We're still trying to figure out there what's going on with Raven and what exactly is he trying to do here in the NWA? What exactly did Raven want to go down here? Did he want for these girls to continue to fight? What exactly was going on? Well, this action pretty much bled backstage where May Valentine was trying to conduct an interview. I'm trying to recall who it was she was trying to interview. I can't remember the faces right now. For some reason, I want to say maybe Marche Rocket was back there, but don't quote me on that. But whoever she was trying to interview, they wasn't even really able to put out a full sentence. And the action had spilled to the set where she was doing the interview, and Markova said to May Valentine straight up something along the lines of, you and me, we're not done. I know what you had tried to do, or something along those lines. But pretty much Markova let May Valentine be aware, hey, I know you tried to sick Camille on me. What the fuck? Kind of one of those type of deals. But Kenzie, Markova continuing on, just brawling. I don't know if this is kind of one of those, this is just going to be strictly isolated to NWA USA, or if we're going to let this bleed also into NWA Power. Hopefully it also bleeds into Power. I mean, why not, after all? Why not? Let's see. Main event match. George South taking on Wrecking Ball. This was an unsanctioned match. This all just pretty much goes back to what had went down when George South was attacked by Wrecking Ball, Jay Bradley, and remember he got in the face of the Mortons, wondering where the hell was Ricky Morton when he needed him the most and everything. Wrecking Ball picked up the victory here in this unsanctioned match. It was okay. Honestly, I could have done without it. I honestly could have done without this match. I didn't really find this that much entertaining. I tolerated it because I'm a fan of Wrecking Ball. Perfectly honest. Tolerated because I'm a fan of Wrecking Ball, but I personally did not care about this match. So now, if maybe you could develop something a little bit more between George South and Ricky Morton, I find that to be actually a little bit more intriguing than going in this direction that they had went into. So, I know that George South, that's a name that goes back some many years and everything, but I don't know what it was. I could not find myself getting into this match for what it was worth. That was just me personally. Not saying it was a shitty match. I would say maybe average, slightly below average of an unsanctioned match. I wasn't looking for blood or anything like that, and I thought the two men definitely went in there, and for what it was worth, I thought they told a pretty decent story, but I just couldn't get into it personally. That's just me. But that was pretty much it for NWA USA. So you really want to home in on those brackets there for the Junior Heavyweight Championship. And I'll actually have an updated bracket. The way I'm going to do it, I'm going to have one updated bracket, and I'll show it to you guys on Wednesday's RCWR show. We're going to have one bracket that shows you who all have advanced so far. And then we'll have another bracket where I'll let you guys know pretty much where I'm picturing everybody landing. And then we'll definitely have my original bracket, and we'll see. I'm pretty sure I haven't messed up yet. I think I'm still batting a perfect average as far as who all I saw advancing. So it's going to be nice to see the comparisons and everything. So tune in for Wednesday's show. That should be pretty good. Other than that, how about as far as NWA news, one thing that kind of jumped out to me, this recent interview that Effy from GCW had put out there where he was taking digs at Billy Corgan. Not sure how many of you guys were aware of this interview, but there's just really one key couple of statements that Effy had made in regards to Billy Kay. He said, and I quote, "Billy Corgan is a dweeb. Billy Corgan is not a good wrestler. Billy Corgan is not a good wrestling booker. Billy Corgan is a loser. What else do I have to say? That guy is literally making trope wrestling that is presented non-ironically. And I want the roster to get all the money they can. But what a fucking dork. Billy Corgan, you have not been cool since the Rat in a Cage song. And I don't even know if you were cool then. Sorry. I have nothing to gain from Billy Corgan, and I need him objectively." Maybe he means, and I mean that objectively? I don't know. Because I know he's surrounded by people that are like, ooh, Trevor Murdoch and Nick Aldis. That's an interesting matchup. Great idea, boss. And this is the problem with every company. I am just mad that someone so dweeby, who has no real understanding of what's going on in wrestling and thinks so high and mighty of himself and goes around looking like Salad Fingers the alien, touching everybody and standing weird. I am over it. I am sick of it. Why do you get the position to have this? Because you made a bunch of money off a band? God damn, this is salty as fuck. You're now who gets to control wrestling? We've got to get these dweebs out. I am sick of these dweebs telling us who's good at wrestling because they have the money. And everybody goes, well, he pays me, so I don't want to say he's a dweeb. I'll say he's a dweeb. I pay myself. Billy Corgan is a dweeb. Mind blown. One thing that's missing from that's just screaming at me. Why my man didn't say, in all honesty, though, Billy Corgan hasn't been cool since 1979. You know, your Smashing Pumpkin songs, enough said, okay? But, I mean, seriously, look, when it's all said and done, Effy is riding high right now because even though he was at the receiving end of a defeat and a lot of GCW fans were upset about it, it's not every day you get to say, I fucking had a match with Jeff Jarrett. The hell that you lost that match. It's not every day you get to say that you wrestled a Pro Wrestling Hall of Famer, that you wrestled a TNA Hall of Famer, that you wrestled a WWE Hall of Famer. It's not every day that you get to say that, okay? So, Effy is, as far as, on his career, one of those key milestones on his resume for his career so far. That's good as bragging rights right there. Look, does this come off very tongue-in-cheek? Does this come off more like a storyline, so to speak, It does. It does come off as if somebody is perhaps going into business for themselves and maybe trying to put themselves in a position where, maybe ultimately, we don't know. Maybe him and Billy have been talking behind the scenes, and this is kind of that start to maybe doing something with GCW, NWA GCW, basically. Your guess is as good as mine, but I just couldn't help but just laugh at what I was reading there because let's just say, for the sake of the argument, let's just say, well, Lee, let's just say this is real. Let's say Effy really does feel this way. This isn't an angle, even though I think it's an angle. But let's just entertain the idea of it's not an angle. Look, I remember when Billy Corgan, I'll say this, just the cliff notes. I remember when Billy Corgan had came into play over with Impact Wrestling and a lot of the stuff that he was trying to implement. I like the changes that he was making, and it's really sad that he got nickel and dimed and dicked ultimately out of his position there and trying to fully acquire NWA. It kind of sucks what had happened there. I like everything that he's been doing with the NWA so far. I mean, look, Effy again, we're assuming, for sake of argument, no, what he's saying is real. Look, you just check out any wrestler that's had the opportunity to work for the NWA. They're asked about Billy. They're asked about working for the NWA. You have heard nothing but complimentary things. Nothing but complimentary things. I'll tell you this too. It seems like for as long as I've been covering the NWA, interacting with NWA fans, when it comes to receiving constructive criticism, constructive feedback, Billy Corgan does not run away. Does not run away. He freaking takes in that feedback and does his very best to try to channel out there the best product that's out there. Some people may question guys like Nick Aldis as champion, or guys like Trevor Murdoch and everything. You know, remember what I said a couple of weeks back? I said something along the lines of, I'm a little bit concerned about the championship reign of Trevor Murdoch. Go back a couple of previous episodes, probably within the last 3 episodes, I have brought that up. And I like the fact that, you know, Billy Corgan is now in this really great position where, okay, this person is hot right now. Oh, they're hot on independence. Okay. All right, well, let's go ahead and let's do something with them, right? We'll get some buzz off of them. They'll get some buzz in return. And, you know, we both win. We're helping each other out. Let's go ahead. Let's do that. So, you know, I like that Billy has not in the past 6 months, 7 months even. I like that Billy has really opened up more. And then even right down to the point, I like that sometimes we get some of the NWA talents working with promotions that we've never even heard of before, and they're doing matches, key matches for some of these promotions that we've never heard of before and everything. So, you know, it seems to me, by all accounts, that the man is trying. He's listening. He's taking in all the feedback, good and bad, and he's trying to plan accordingly. I'm not making any excuses. I'm not defending. I'm just telling you my observation. That's what I'm telling you. I mean, you need probably the greatest testament of really listening to the fans. I mean, there wasn't a week that went by where I was on this show talking about how fans taking to social media, not liking the fact that NWA was behind a freaking paywall on Fight TV, and the great momentum that NWA was building up, and now you just pretty much cut it, and because you want to go chase the money and you're going behind a paywall. And ultimately, Billy Corgan and what, we're, you know, all right, we're hearing the feedback, we're taking it in, and yeah, okay, you know what? All right, let's go ahead, let's make this happen. Let's just make this shit free again, right? I mean, that's the biggest testament, you know, as far as somebody that is listening to the criticism, is listening to the feedback, and all that good stuff. So that's assuming that this is legit, but I personally feel, by all accounts, this is a little angle. Like I said, I don't know if Effy has, you know, worked it out there. He's already given Billy the heads up, and, you know, this is kind of one of those, all right, so we're building it in a couple of months, we're going to see this go down, and who knows, maybe at the next NWA pay-per-view, oh my God, it's Effy. What's Effy doing here? You know, kind of one of those type of deals. But to be continued as far, if at all, as far as this chapter goes. But thought I'd mention that to you guys because I got a nice little chuckle out of that one. All right, so quick programming notes. So Wednesday, you guys are going to get a new RCWR show. Actually, you're going to get, from here on out for the next several weeks, you guys are going to get 2 new RCWR shows on Wednesdays. Okay, so the first one I want to tell you about, it'll be available on demand in the, I don't know if it's going to be in the afternoons or if it's going to be in the evenings, but it's going to be a premiere episode. It'll be Wild Women of Wrestling we'll be covering the lost episodes. I mean, there are a shit ton of lost episodes that WoW put out there. Go back to the Monday show and you'll get caught up to speed on what I'm talking about. But for the next several weeks, we're going to be doing special one-off episodes covering those WoW Women of Wrestling lost episodes. What I don't know right now is if those episodes are going to be available Wednesday afternoon or Wednesday evening. But as long as you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, that's where they're going to go first. And then they probably won't be made available in audio format until the weekend. So when you see it on YouTube, go freaking check it out ASAP. Okay, go check it out ASAP. And then Wednesday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, we'll be live after Dynamite goes off the air. We'll cover Dynamite Fallout. I'll go over key points from this week's NXT 2.0. We'll go over some headlines. We'll also get into some Royal Rumble predictions since Royal Rumble is going to be going down this Saturday. So that'll be a fun episode. We'll also finally reveal the Sanders Awards categories. We'll recognize some stuff from 2021, and that'll be fun. That'll be fun for you guys. Now, I want to give you guys this heads up right now. I'm going to be finalizing the polling options and all of that tonight going into Wednesday morning. If you're following me on social media, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at the RCWR show, you guys are going to be connected and know as soon as the polls go live. But we'll go over the categories. To my point, we're going to officially go over the categories on Wednesday night show. So make sure you tune in for that. That should be pretty good. And other than that, that is pretty much going to do it. If you haven't done so already and you got up to this point, thank you, first of all. And if you haven't done it yet, make sure you leave that like button. Shout out to those of you that's actually going to be checking this out on YouTube. Definitely make sure you hit the like button, because when you do that, you really help spread our content out there more to a wider audience for YouTube to recommend and everything. So do that, and thanks, and subscribe as well so you don't miss out on all the great content that comes your way. I hope you enjoyed this deluxe edition of NWA coverage. We normally don't go this long, but since I was out sick last week, you know, we weren't able to cover a couple of those episodes. So I'm feeling better, you know, one day at a time. Right now, the biggest problem, my voice is coming and going. 1 minute I can sound totally fine, like right now, and then the next minute I got this whole weird, raspy, kind of gargly Batman voice going on. You know, so it's coming and going. But I'm getting better. I'm regaining my strength and everything. Been taking a lot of vitamin C and all that. So, and we got a busy week too. So I'm doing my best to get as much rest as possible, because this is not the week that I really want to be off, all things considered. I mean, it's a great time this week to be a wrestling fan. So, all right, get at me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Use the keywords, the RCWR show. And until next go round, wishing all of y'all to be safe. Most importantly, be kind to one another. And I'll catch you guys next go round. Take care, y'all. Peace.